Welcome to 17 Strong. Victories don't come by accident. Here's your host, Steve Teixeira.
Thanks, Andy. Welcome to another 17 Strong podcast. I'm your host, Steve Teixeira, along with my beautiful wife, Holly. Hi, babe.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. So we are continuing the football saga from Arroyo Grande High School.
Yes.
I'm going to give you the honors because you're the one that seems to have all the dirt on these guys, or the bones to pick.
That?
I don't know.
Yeah, that is so cool. Well, just please welcome Trevor Coville, and we have Garth Porterfield with us. So thank you for being here.
Oh yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, we're excited to hear some more Ryan stories. And I guess kind of the bottom line that Steve and I have been talking about is rules didn't apply to Ryan. I don't know why. I don't understand it. We're trying to get to the bottom of it. So we just are thankful that you guys are here. But I want to start, I think, with just tell us a little bit about you, maybe what you do, how if you're married and your kids. So I'll start with you, Trevor.
I'm Trevor Coville. I teach at Arroyo Grande High School. I also coach. I coach Ryan in football. I've coached there since 1998, and I've taught there since 2001. And I also had Ryan in my Algebra 1 class, and your other son,
Yes.
Aaron, of course. I am married to my beautiful wife, Stephanie, and we have 3 little boys. Trey's 8, and our twins are 6. That's Cal and Declan.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
So you started at Arroyo Grande High School right out of Cal Poly?
So I was still at Cal Poly. I walked on to play football there in 96. And then they hired a new coach in 97. And I got cut. He said, "We don't want any more receivers. We have enough of you guys that can't run or catch." So I said, what am I going to do now? And I wanted to continue, being involved in football somehow. So an old coach of mine, and then actually my dad said, "You should go over to Arroyo Grande High School. They just won the CIF title in 97. Go talk to a coach and see if they, you can help them out." And they said, my dad actually knew the head coach at the time, John Huss. They played Pop Warner football together in 1959.
Oh my gosh.
Down in Reseda. They were on the same team. And so we talked and they picked me up, and they haven't gotten
That's
back to me yet.
crazy.
So you're originally from Southern California then?
Yes. I grew up in Newbury Park.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Very familiar with that. Newbury
okay.
Park had a great baseball team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they won CIF one year. But
Yeah. Did you meet your wife at Cal Poly?
No, not really.
Okay,
She is 8 years younger than me.
Oh.
Yeah.
8
So
years. So we're not even in school at the same time, I'm sure.
No, not even close. Not even close.
Okay. All right. We won't get into that story, I guess. That's another day.
She's an AG kid, and I've lived here now and kind of
Okay.
Acclimated a little bit, and we had some common friends, and
Gotcha.
most of those common friends didn't want me to talk to her at all. Eventually I was annoying enough, and she gave me a shot. And,
Awesome. I love it. I love
Very
it.
good.
That's awesome.
All right.
Okay, Garth, tell us about you.
Let's see. Actually born in Southern California, but our family moved up here in 1984. I went to Shell Beach, Judkins, and then AG. And
Oh, you're rooted.
You are rooted.
I guess
deep.
I'm as local as it can be at that point.
for
There was
sure.
I think there's a picture that my mom has of us. I was fishing with my dad, and she took it from the ocean towards Pismo Heights.
Oh, yeah.
And there was 6 houses on the heights.
Oh,
It was super cool. The
That's
old pier.
yeah.
That's really cool.
Married to my wife, Melissa, who's my absolute rock.
Yeah.
And then we have 3 kids. 2 are in the military. 1 retired from the Air Force. 1 is a Ranger sniper in Georgia. And then we have our daughter, Savannah, who's 19 and living her best life in Hawaii right now, going to school.
So
Wow.
exciting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
exciting. I love that. That's great. It's great to hear how everything falls together.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love that. I love
And
that.
then you are strength and conditioning. How did you fit in at Arroyo Grande High School? Because you weren't a teacher.
No,
Nope.
I wasn't. So I played football at AG. Coach Huss was our head coach. Coach Mack was special teams and defense. Coach Flowers was my defensive back coach, and Goosen was our defensive coordinator. And I'd always kept a relationship with Flowers and Goosen. And when my financial firm had gotten to the point where I was comfortable to give back I always say that this community gave me everything it had.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a point where I needed to give back to that community. And one of the things that I wanted to do was just maybe get into high school and maybe help kids that came from the same background as me, to be able to excel and exceed. And I went in and saw Goosen, and he said, hey, you know what? We'd love to have you on board. We're revamping our freshman staff. We want to start, kind of running the same things that we are at the varsity level. Stephen Field, who's a local hero here, and myself and Corey Main. He's like, we're going to put this group together, and you guys are going to get a freshman football team, and just happened to be Ryan's freshman football team.
Okay, so we've talked a little bit in the past about Ryan's freshman football team, which is a lot to be said about that.
The worst football team ever in history.
We had one win, if I remember correctly.
And it was brutal.
Yes, it was brutal. It was against St. Joe's. And
St. Joe's,
we teased because Hartman was the head coach at St. Joe's at the time.
Oh.
And Steven and I, and it was Tom Bossart.
Yeah, that's right.
Corey Main, Steven, and myself. And we wanted to kind of get ourselves accustomed to how varsity football did things. So Steven and I would, I think on Sundays, we'd borrow the room after you guys were done. Mm-hmm. And Steven and I would go through, we'd ask film. I think we were the only freshman staff asking for film on the other teams. And so we are over. We have not won it. We are terrible. We were getting smashed everywhere.
Yeah.
And we get St. Joe's. So I asked Tom, I said, hey, can reach out to Hartman and get us the film? Hartman sends us a loop of the Rigetti kickoff.
Oh my
like
gosh.
7 times. And still to this day, we say he did it on purpose. He claims he doesn't.
Yeah.
But it was just a loop. And Steven and I are like, man, this guy, you know what? Because their team was 0 for 2. So we were for sure conspiracy. He didn't want us to see anything because he didn't want to lose to us and really the worst team.
Yeah.
So that's
awesome.
That was our one win was versus St. Joe's. And it was on Cole Ramey right before the half. And we were 51 yards out. And Steven looks at me and I'm like, dude, we have nothing to lose. So I called special teams over and I'm like, Cole, here's what, block out everything. I want you just to boot that ball like you've never booted it before. And he did. He hit a 51-yarder.
Yeah.
We won 3-0. It was terrible.
3-0. I knew it was terrible.
Oh, it was the worst game.
We're like, woo.
That kid could kick.
That
kid
could
kick.
He was great. Yeah.
I lost track of him. I don't know where Cole
I do not know where he's at.
Last I saw him, he was working at Ember.
Oh,
so he's still around.
He is.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so too.
Oh.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know how Garth met Ryan for the first time. How did you meet Ryan for the first time, Trevor?
I met Ryan the first time in the same season when they came up for playoffs. So after our final game of the year, I think we beat Slow at home. It was raining. The next day, on Sunday, you find out who you're playing for the playoffs.
Yes.
And the day before that, we kind of get together, we clean the office, and then we talk about who we're going to bring up. And normally you bring up JV kids, it's, hey, these 15 to 20 kids or whatever are, kind of ready. They can come up and they can help on scout teams and stuff like that and we knew we were going to have a good run that year into the playoffs. So you also can bring up some freshmen, which isn't that common. They had the white jerseys, practice jerseys. So they kind of, it was a freshman if they were up because they kind of stood out that way. And we had these two, we had number 21 and we had 17 that came up and they played middle backer. And it was Jordan and Ryan.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, you bring up some kids, you already have 60 guys on the team. You bring up another 30. I mean, it's herding cats a little bit for the first couple of practices. And so during offensive time, because I was defensive coordinator that year, I had to do scout team for the offense. So, I had to get all these guys over here. And the two white shirts, hey, we want to be inside linebackers. You guys weigh $120, But we threw them in there, and I was like, these guys they kind of rock and roll a little bit. And 17's just kind of going in there and maybe a little bit too hard for scout team. Your kind of your job is just to kind of align, kind of move around a little bit. But he's going around lighting people up, and I'm just like, okay. And Goosen's like, maybe those guys can kind of chill out a little bit. I was like, I don't think it's going to happen. Like this one guy just kind of, he's a little bit different, coach. And it's like, okay, just.
He's a little bit different. Talking about
No, so he said,
Yes.
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Talking about Ryan.
You
of
know,
course.
Ryan, like you said earlier, I think we were talking earlier, you know, there were no rules. Like he just felt things and he just kind of went and did it.
Yeah.
So, hey, you're a linebacker, go get the ball.
Right. Okay, so let's just go over that particular. We did it in a previous podcast, but just to set the scene a little bit, we're talking about like Seth Jacobs and Garrett Owens and Garrett
Weinrich.
Weinrich.
And
Oh my gosh.
Vanderveen.
Okay.
Ryan had stories about how Weinrich would just pick him up and walk him back.
And like you're literally and throw him to the side. And he's like, this guy's like 250 some pounds. And here I am.
Higher than that.
Yeah, higher than that. And then there's Ryan, a freshman, 14. And Garrett's like 18 at the time, you know, so clearly it was just not, it was super interesting. But Ryan was happy to be on the scout team to learn a little bit more and to get to know those guys, and just the camaraderie of that team was special.
That was a special team.
It was a very special team. And I really think that they learned a lot. Those two kids learned a lot from being able to be a little bit of a part of it. But I do remember him coming home going, I got a jersey. And I'm like, whoa. And he's like, yeah, but that's a big deal. Like I'm a freshman and I got a jersey and I get to stand on the sideline. But it was the only time Ryan got to stand on the sideline because he wasn't just that type of a kid. He loved to play and to be able to get in there and play. But I mean, his character is to get in there. And so he hated, it was like a caged lion to be on the sidelines, you know? So it was determination to be able to be a starter and to do, you know, what he had to do to get there. But, you know, even I think back, and Ryan didn't even play football for a long period of time. You know, I mean, Aaron is the one that had played since he could, which is 8, whatever age that
7, 8
is.
years
Yeah,
old.
7, 8 years old. And he tried for years to talk Ryan into playing. And I don't think he even did it until junior high. So he was still just learning the game, you know? And then y'all gave him a lot of freedom.
Well, and I think too, like what Trevor was saying though, because Steven and I came up with those freshmen to the varsity that year. And that was one of the questions. Ryan was a baseball player.
Yep, he was a
and
baseball
so
player.
we knew going into it, and that was one of the questions that, you know, Tom was really good about those things. Like, hey, we're going to bring them up. Here's what we're going to use them for. We'll give them some leeway. They're freshmen, they're kids. You know, this kid's a baseball player. He's not going to see the field in any games, but he's really helping the team. Like, there were a lot of conversations that went in there. And so I think for Ryan too, to just even come up and be on the sidelines, realizing that like, I'm not ever going to see the field this year, but to be able to get that feel of what it was going to be.
Oh.
Sure.
And then in him not even knowing, I don't think nobody had said anything at that point, but we knew Ryan and Jordan were coming up with us.
Right.
So it wasn't an issue of that, but it was just to kind of see where their heart was and where they were.
Yeah.
And I have a funny story that I heard last night with Weinrich and Tex.
Oh.
So he
I
actually,
can.
real
Do
quick.
you keep in contact with that guy?
no,
Weinrich.
no, I don't. I talked to Brent.
Before you tell
Gotcha.
the story,
Okay.
Weinrich, like he was grumpy. Like he was kind of an old soul.
Oh yeah.
So to have like these little freshmen kind of running around, like playing a little bit too hard, like he you know,
He had no
he
tolerance.
paid his dues. Like he knew
He's
what he
like
was doing.
Yeah,
you know,
he's
it was
like the
just like,
grandpa, get
can I
away.
just show up on Friday and just kick butt and we'll win the game? You know, but he's practicing hard, and Ryan's going way harder, and so go ahead. Like he was
Well, that
grumpy.
was-
He was like,
He's
"Don't
grumpy.
do this." Stop
So I guess he
doing it.
told him that he basically like whispered to him, like, go 50%, kid.
Slow it down.
Like, go 50%. And Ryan just didn't know how. And so where we were in practice, at that point, we were practicing in front of the tennis courts. And we were back. And all of a sudden, I just remember, I see something, Tex pays zero attention to what he said. And he literally drove him 60 yards, just got in his jersey and just kind of wiped him all over the field to our feet. And I remember he got up off of him and I'm like, do you feel good about yourself? And he just looked at me and then went back to the huddle. But yeah, Ryan was told, like, Hey, 50%, kid, 50%.
50%.
Yep. But
I don't-
Ryan
yeah.
didn't
No.
do it.
No,
Never
like
had
I
that.
think he came home and said, I don't like that kid. And mind you, Ryan doesn't not like anybody. And I've heard that story. I forgot it until just now. And he's like, who says that? Who says that? Who only goes 50%? That's not who I am.
Nope.
And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, he's a bit bigger than you. So let's not get into a fight about it. Like thinking to myself, like, okay, well, I'm thinking he's smarter than that. You know what I mean? But anyway, yeah, I just thought that's funny because that name does not get brought up a lot in Weinrich. I don't know why, because there was some stories about that. Like, and when he would pick Ryan up all the way off the ground, like feet and all, and throw him, and he's all, does he think he's cool? Because he's really not cool. That's not saying much. And I'm like, okay, you're right. It doesn't say much because you're only 150 pounds.
If that, when he was a freshman.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
yeah.
With the long hair, like, Justin Bieber or something.
Yep.
Yep, exactly. Okay, so you had Ryan in class.
I did.
Okay, do you remember what year that was? Was he a sophomore or freshman?
I want to say no, he wasn't a freshman yet. So I taught Algebra 1, and at the time it was a half-year class. So it was A, B, C, and D, or sorry, a 2-year class. And basically anybody that was struggling in Algebra 1 as sophomores, I got them. And then I also had some special ed kids and, like good kids that counselors knew that they could kind of trust in my class. They would be sent my way as well. So I think Ryan probably, I don't know what happened as a freshman in Algebra 1, but he ended up with me, I want to say either as a sophomore.
I think it was a sophomore.
It was.
And then I want to say the beginning of his junior year maybe as well, or maybe only as a sophomore. But
well, he's dyslexic, so he thought that if I can get math out of the way sooner than later, I don't think he had math his senior or freshman or junior or senior year.
Well, to go to college, he had to get through. I remember he's saying, I'm going to go to college. I said, that's rad, Tex. You're a good baseball player. You could go to Cuesta or Hancock and you'll be able to transfer somewhere after that because of the whole math thing. That trips up a lot of kids. They have to get through a certain amount of classes. And he's barely getting through Algebra 1. He's not going to be able to do that 4-year thing. And he said, no, you don't understand. I got to get through this class. And then after yours, I got to get through a couple others. And I was just like, that's good. Let's worry about this one right now. And then you can worry about all that stuff. I'll get you through this, buddy.
Yeah, exactly.
And the kids I taught, they don't go to college. I mean, they don't go to a 4-year college. They go to JC. And then, a few of them come back later and like, hey, I graduated from wherever. Like, wow, that's
amazing.
Ryan was probably the first kid that actually went to a 4-year university that I had. And at that time, I'd been doing it for like 12 to 13 years.
Wow.
But
determination. That's the way he lived.
Sat right in the front, just the same spot that Aaron sat in, and we would just grind it out. And algebra is not for everybody. It's
not for me.
It shouldn't be for anyone. I mean, unless I know there's a progression, and people that love math and know how it applies in real life are going to yell at me. But algebra is hard. It's a totally different language. I love the problem solving part of it and all that, but I'm a different dude. But he would come in and he would sit down. Everything was ready before class, and he was there just like a practice. If he was probably pretty serious about baseball practice, you'd be prepared.
Oh, sure.
Same thing for algebra. He knew it was hard for him, and then he came in and he was ready to go, and he gave it, his Tex effort, no 50%.
Yeah, no 50%. Yeah.
And he was,
That is crazy because, he always was a hot mess. I mean, hot mess, because I had taken sign language with him because we didn't want him to do Spanish, because I'm like, you don't even know how to speak English. So Spanish would be a whole different
his own language.
Texican.
Yeah.
We call it Texican.
So you hear me. I get it. So I'm like, I'm going to take sign language with you, and we're going to try to get through this. And we went right after practice. So I had to have food ready for him. We went right after practice, and he was a hot mess. No paper, no pencil, no. Landon Saputo was in that class, and thank God she was adorable because she kind of took care of him. She's like, here's your pencil, here's a paper. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Because the first day, him and I got in trouble from the teacher because we were talking. And then he literally pokes me in the back and he's like, good job, Holly. I'm like, so all those kids that were in our class in sign language told everybody that Ryan and his mom got in trouble for talking. Now y'all know where he gets it from.
Yes.
So anyway, I just know, like, seeing him in a class environment, he was a hot mess. So I'm glad to hear that he was prepared.
You know what? It's algebra 1. You know,
Yeah.
we're factoring. Hey, everyone, we're going to factor trinomials today, and I was like, oh, this is awful. You know, so I come up
I
with.
need to Google that. I'm sorry.
So I don't call it that. You know, you'd say that, and you're just like, all right, 5 people are just going to leave. You know, and everyone else is going to turn their backs on you. So I call it making cheeks. We would make cheeks. So your approach would, you do little parentheses, and you have to So we go through the whole process. I mean, I think that kind of, for Ryan, I think it helped him a little bit. There was a step.
Sure.
You know, there were steps to everything that we were doing, and he kind of took to it. And I mean, he would, like, sometimes I'll call kids up. Hey, do you want to do problem number 7? And yeah, he's up there.
Yeah.
And he's up there. Oh, you got to make your cheeks and everything. And I mean, he was a leader of the class. You know, in typical Ryan sense, you know, it's a weird subject, but he's helping other kids do it. You know, he's excited for them, it was pretty cool.
That's right. Okay, so is there, I'm going to go out on a limb right now, Pythagorean or something like that?
Pythagorean theorem.
Oh my gosh.
We did that.
Okay, so he came home from school after he goes, oh my gosh, Mr. Coville is hilarious. He said, don't ever say this word outside of the math class, because then you're just a flat out nerd.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we did. Yeah. No, there was.
I just remembered that right now off the cuff.
We had algebra 1 at the end, at least back when I used to teach it. I'm not in it anymore, but yeah.
Thank God, because I think I might have got you fired right now.
Thank you. Thank you. No, it's just formula after formula at the end, you know, and it's, you know, finding the discriminant, and you're using the quadratic formula.
Oh, yeah. All these crazy words. And he's like, just don't ever say that outside of this room, because you'll be the biggest nerd.
Yep.
I go, well, thanks for even remembering it. You know what I mean? I'm impressed that you remembered it. Okay, so you remember Ryan as what now? Let's say it.
The candy stripe jackasses.
And he wasn't afraid to tell them.
I've got, so our freshman year, we get these 2 kids, and it was Jackass 1 and Jackass 2, and they switched
back and forth.
Who was 1 or 2?
And shall we clear it up and say it was Jordan and Ryan?
Absolutely. Jordan and Ryan.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
And like, it was funny because I think you and I, when we did the interview where Jacob filmed it for the 17 strong workout that we had put together at the old gym.
That's correct.
To raise money. It came up, you had said something to me, and it stuck with me forever. You said, man, I never realized how close you and Ryan were. And it was funny because, like, I would text them, say, hey, jackasses, did you get your homework done? You know, and I'm a little different. Like, I think why the kids related to me, I wasn't a teacher.
Sure.
You know, right. I was a businessman that wanted to help out and do things. And I was really open and honest with the kids. Mm-hmm. You know, I didn't hide who I was when I was young. I didn't, you know, I knew exactly what they were doing. Right. And so I think that there was this mutual respect. So I would, you know, I'd text Ryan and Jordan, say, hey, jackasses, did you do your homework? Because that was our big thing with them as freshmen. I have this picture still. The 2 of them send me a picture. They both are, it was kind of like the Step Brothers picture, except they don't have shirts on. They're behind the computer. They both have the same Justin Bieber haircut, and they're wearing sunglasses. And they just put, yep, doing homework, coach. And I'm like, man, why do you send me this stuff?
I know, right? You know? It's just ammo.
And then
ammo in my pocket.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then Ryan does, like, I think it was his senior year, he got called for a face mask at Paso.
Oh.
His junior year is when he had the cast.
Oh,
and
yeah,
it is on my phone still for his phone number. It's his contact photo. But he sends me this picture and he says, do you really think this was a face mask? And honestly, his cast is inside the guy's mask, backwards, pushing his helmet off. And I'm like, dude, again, why do you send me this stuff? You know,
just wanted to make sure. Are you seeing the same thing?
What's his point? Like,
I know.
It's still a penalty. I mean,
so I'm like, oh no, it wasn't face mask, buddy. I don't know what they called. I don't know why.
It was even worse.
Yeah. I mean, he might have been ejected had they seen that.
Right? Exactly. That is comedy right there. Okay, so let's go back to the freshman team, the Candy Stripers.
Yes.
Okay.
So
because I was a part of that.
Yes.
The only reason I was a part of it because I have like the kid version, which you're the coach at the time,
right?
And so they're like, Mom, it's October, it's breast cancer awareness. We need we're going to do like the pink tape. And I'm like, oh, okay, gotcha. And then he comes home because supposedly coaches told him, well, everybody has to have pink tape. And I'm like, oh gosh, okay. So I go to the store, like a good mom I am. I go to the store and I buy like 25 rolls of pink tape because I'm on the ball. Because I think this is what they want. So of course you could take it from here.
Okay, so we're terrible. We've said it, right? We haven't won a game.
Nope.
We're playing. This is the only game we won at St. Joe's, and it's breast cancer awareness. Now, the other thing too is we knew, and Stephen will say the same thing, Corey the same thing. We had 2 leaders on that team, and it was really, as freshmen, for them, we had to mold them. We knew who they were. It was Jordan and Ryan. So whatever they would do, the team would follow.
Sure.
So, hey, coach, can we wear pink? So Stephen and I, we kind of looked to varsity. We asked Trevor, asked Tom, like, hey, what are you guys doing? Well, we're letting the kids wear pink socks, or we're letting them wear a pink armband, but it's got to be minimal, Okay, well, we're going to follow suit. That's what we're trying to prime them for. So we get off the bus.
And there's 25 tapes of pink.
Like, they don't, no, we don't see any of this yet.
No. Okay.
So we're out on the field. We're walking around. We're kind of trying to get a feel for it and everything. They go in the locker room and then they come out.
Oh, no.
And I lost it, like internally. And I'm thinking, okay, these guys haven't won a game. And when they walked out, and please, anybody that listens to this, if you have that picture from our freshman year, because we had multiple people take pictures of it.
We need it.
I need it.
Yes.
I'm framing it and putting it in my house because they came from head to toe. Ryan and Tex started on their cleat and then wrapped all the way around. Like they look like candy canes. And so I'm furious because now I'm thinking, not only are we going to lose again, but we're going to lose looking like total jackasses.
I wonder if Ray Ambler has a picture.
I don't know. Well, it's an away game.
It was away.
I don't,
yeah. So, somebody has a picture.
Somebody has to have that.
Somebody has to. So I get the idea. Like now I'm going to murder them.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, hey, guys. Man, you look fantastic. Everybody, let's get together. Let's get a big group photo. Somebody with a camera. And so they all are posing like they're, and they take the picture. And I'm like, I want you to remember this because you guys look like a bunch of candy striped jackasses. You haven't won a game. We're here. This is the only chance we have. Like, I just lost it. Okay. So then Raymond kicks the 51-yard field goal. We win by 3. It's our only victory of the year. I'm at work the next morning, and this is where I say that I am proud to be in the company of Brad Latchman, of one of the few people that was on Holly's hit list. So I am sitting in my office.
See, I'm the peacemaker in the stands.
Yes.
I'm the peacemaker.
I'm like ready to rip someone. Like I'm like literally.
I get a phone call at my office.
From who?
So I cannot name the source.
Okay, because I'm going to name the source who I told Corey Main, because Corey was the head coach. Mm-hmm. Okay, so go ahead. You're not going to name the source. That's okay.
That'll have. So you called Corey directly.
Oh yeah. I'm like, oh dude, yeah, I got an issue right now.
So I'm sitting at my office and I get a phone call. My assistant says, hey, one of your buddies on the phone needs to talk to you. It's an emergency. And I'm like, okay. So I pick up the phone. I'm like, hey, what's going on? He's like, hey, do you know Holly Teixeira? And I said, well, yeah, one of the kids' moms. Like, oh, dude, she is all over town asking about you. What do you have any business coaching kids? Like she's asking people, she's this, that, another thing. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, the weird thing is everybody's defending you. Like, oh yeah, he coached my kids. He's great. Oh, he coached my kids. He's great. So I know Holly's steaming like this can't be the same person. She's just fired up.
Fired up.
I get to practice that day.
Okay.
Corey pulls me aside. He's like, hey, buddy. He's like, Tex's mom called. Like, she's hot. And I'm like,
And when I get hot, I get hot. Hot. Just say that.
So I'm like, whatever. I'm like,
You're
man.
like, I already heard about it.
Yeah, I already
From my
heard. I'm
source,
like,
I already
I'm
heard.
good.
You remember the caged lion analogy?
remember
That's
that?
where-
Yeah.
Here we go.
I'm
Here
starting
we
to
go.
think I know where Ryan got his
There you go.
personality.
Oh,
Yes.
100%.
Yeah,
100%. I
absolutely.
could finish this kid's sentence.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we knew. Okay, go ahead.
So
I
yeah,
love
so
this
that was
story.
it though. So then we go to practice that whole day. And
Oh, and Ryan's like, are you really going to say something? I said, oh, you have no idea.
Right.
You have no idea. Yeah.
so it happened perfectly
Okay, good.
because I would park in the tennis court parking lot. You had the white minivan, and it just happened that Tex and Jordan were walking with me out to you. And I remember you were parked in the car,
I was.
and I thought, oh, I'm like, that's Ryan's mom. I'm just going to go talk to her. And so I knocked on the window. The kids got in, and I was like, hey, Holly, I'm Garth. You know, I heard that you had something to say. Like you wanted to talk to me. You know,
I'm
if
like,
you
no, I
want to
already
talk.
said my piece.
Yeah, you were
Did
like,
I say that?
no, it's fine. I've got kids. I'm like, I'm good. The kids are fine. Like I have nothing bad to say. Just if
Yeah.
you need something, just ask me. And you're like, no, we're good. I've got it taken care of. So I was like, all right, fine. It's over with.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah,
And that was kind
totally
of it.
done.
But man, I was like
Dying.
all day at school, the whole 9 yards.
So
I'm thinking,
funny.
man, what did I do? And then it came out. It was the candy stock jackasses. That was them.
That was, do you really think that's what it is?
What?
That's why I was upset about the candy striper act.
No,
Okay.
no.
Yeah.
But that was the
Yeah,
catalyst.
That was the catalyst of the
Yeah.
whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was like, that is not. Yeah. Do you mind if I just clarify
Go,
that? Okay.
go.
So one of the things that I was upset with is because, well, the thing is that when, now this is the story I got, of course, from the players, is that when because they won for the first time in their whole life, and they did act like it was like the Super Bowl,
Oh, yeah.
and it was like one win by 3 points. It was horrible,
Yeah.
horribly played game, which I totally admit.
Oh, heck of a kick.
Heck
Great
of a kick, yeah, but not like Ryan and Jordan didn't do anything like to help the game at all. But anyway, I guess the point is that okay, well, what I had to say was like, I thought it was a touchdown that they had. So see, this is all, I'm trying to have to put this piece of the puzzle
No, it
together.
was all Jordan. It was Jordan too, because
that Ryan was defending Jordan
Yes.
because he would, whenever they would make a touchdown, they would do like this chest bump thing. And you know, they were just like two peas in a pod, and he would like thank the Lord. And you're like, don't you dare do that. You guys are acting like a bunch of, you know, like
we had
like you
scored
won
any
the-
touchdowns,
Right.
and then it was like they scored a touchdown, and it's
Right,
like the
exactly.
Super Bowl had been won. I'm like, don't.
Exactly. So
Just
that
come
was-
back to the
Just
sideline.
come back to the sidelines. Right. And I guess my point to that was, why is he getting upset with you about celebrating something that probably needed to be celebrated because we were so terrible? And so I was trying to make a point that I'm the mom, you do your job and you do the football plays, because I certainly would never, ever tell you how to run a football team, because
Yeah.
that's not who I am and what I represent. But when you are trying to, you know, to tell them not to thank the Lord, really hit a chord with me. And so I was like, okay, that's something where I need to say hello. Like, hello, here I am. Like, and like I said, I only got upset with like 3 times 4 years in high school. It was legit things like moral issues is what I call them. Moral issues, not an issue.
So
that would-
congratulations.
Yeah,
you
Yes.
sorry
won
about
your
that.
I
three.
said
I
I'm
love
in
the
an
pieces
elevated
now.
crowd. It's Brad
know,
and I
it's-
that
yeah,
have
Brad and you.
had the wrath.
I know, I love it. And I
But
was
all's
like,
forgiven now, so you're good.
Hey.
well, and the thing is that once there's a bond there, it never breaks. So I
Right.
just want you to know that that's
Well, that
super
was-
special place to be in my heart.
And see, and I don't even think, and the funny part was, and Holly knows now, and I think she's told you, Steve, but Ryan used to write me love letters.
Oh,
Yeah.
And I have them, and I've numbered that he numbered
Yeah.
them. So like the very first one he wrote was his freshman year, and it said number 1, which I laugh because that meant there were more coming. He knew-
exactly.
Oh, it was numbered ahead of time.
Oh,
Numbered ahead of time.
So I knew
Numbered
that,
ahead of time.
and they would be
I
left
told you he likes stats.
on my
He
window.
does.
They'd be left underneath my
Right.
windshield
And so
wiper.
that, now let's put it together now, because that was when one of your kids played youth football.
Yep. Tristan.
Okay, Tristan played youth football and he goes, Mom, I need a pen. And I'm like, I don't have a pen. We literally like got out of the car and was like searching the car underneath the seat for a pen. So we got a pen. He's like, oh, what are you doing? He goes, I'm writing a note to coach. And I'm like, okay, this should be good. You know, because his spelling was atrocious. Absolutely atrocious.
It's fantastic.
It's all phonetically spelled, you know? So I didn't correct it. I was actually helping him write this letter, this note, number one, to Coach Porterfield. So I'm like, do you know like what his car looks like? Yeah, I do. I know what his car looks like. So we're like, all right, this is gonna be it. So I was like helping him, knowing like, oh gosh, this guy probably absolutely hates us and you know, whatever, but we're gonna kill him with kindness because we're going to do this love note, like, as you say,
Yep.
Of course he didn't say love note, but yeah. So I helped him with, I didn't know about the others. I think how many were there? Cause I want to say
8 total.
8 total. I think I helped him with 2.
Yeah.
I didn't
Because-
know about it till senior awards
Senior
night.
awards night.
Really?
Senior awards
When-
night.
Yeah, the
when you
love
brought it
letters.
out.
Yeah.
And remember he was like growing his hair out at
Yep.
the time again. And it was like the flow. And you're like, what are you doing with your hair?
I don't hold back. I tell him exactly
what
what
are you
I
doing
feel.
with your hair today? Like it was because he wore a buzz cut, usually, and then all this hair started coming, and yeah, super crazy. So there became like a bond between you and him.
Yeah.
A really strong bond, which I wasn't aware of. And usually he told me a lot of information. Like I'm telling you, he told me, we had some really great conversations because we just knew, I guess, what to ask him and,
Yeah.
and how to relate to him. But I didn't know about a lot of, because you went right up to varsity with him.
Yeah.
So you
Steven
went
and I
from
went.
freshman to varsity
you guys
with
jumped
him.
right up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we stayed up there, and then I coached there until 2015 or 2016. And then that's when I stepped down because of the gym. And
Well, yeah,
kind of
because
went
he
that way.
graduated 15.
yeah,
Right.
And then Aaron graduated 17. So
16
Yeah.
then. So was Bradley's year.
Mhm.
Was the
Okay.
last year I
Yeah.
Was the
coached.
last.
I think-
Okay.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
All right. So,
Crazy.
Trevor, what kind of stories do you have?
Yeah, what do you have?
We know about Liberty. Liberty is one of the favorite football plays of everybody's memory.
The Liberty play. The only thing I wanted to say about that was he didn't. Well, this is normal for him. He went the wrong way initially. If you I watched the film a couple days ago just because I was thinking of hey, some stories about Ryan, and he goes the wrong way. He goes the wrong way briefly, and then I'm sure you've seen it a million times with him. He's going a million miles per hour, and then all of a sudden he realizes like, whoa, I got to go this way. So he peeks to his right, and then he goes back to his left, and the ball had been tipped in the air, and whoa, I caught it. Starts running, he slides.
He slides.
Yeah, but had he actually done what he was supposed to there, it's maybe an incomplete pass. Something different happens. But just the fact that he's Ryan and he kind of went the wrong way, the ball bounces right to him. I think he had a cast on, so it made it a little bit easier to catch.
Oh my
Just
gosh.
kind of perfect, storm of weirdness for Ryan to make that play. The one that I really like though is this happened 2 years in a row. So high school football, you're probably going to lose your last game of the year. That's it unless
Yeah.
you win it all.
Yeah.
You go to the playoffs and
Oh, you're going to talk about Paso game. No.
Oh, okay. So we played, that one as well. So his sophomore year, we played Paso, and we are winning. We go up by 6 points with a minute left. So a bunch of guys were hurt. This is
Oh, yeah.
2012, so we're in a
Yep.
3 deep. We only got a few options we can do here. Ryan's in there, and a minute left. They're going to throw the ball. What should we be in? We're going to be in a 3 loose or something like that. So they start running it, and they're just getting 11 yards, 12 yards, and they got a long way to go, and the clock's going, but it's stopping because of first downs. And I'm looking at oh God, we're in trouble here. And they go all the way down, and when I finally call a timeout, and Ryan comes off the field, and he's going Texican.
He's going Texican.
Lost his
I can't get
his
used to
stuff. And he's just going crazy. And we had lost our starting inside backer had gone down. Grant Alton looked like he'd just been bludgeoned by 100 guys at once. We had a bunch of small guys up front, and Ryan's like, he's going crazy. I said, Tex, it's gonna be fine, buddy. And inside, I know it's on. I'm going, we're getting our butts kicked here. We have no answers. And he goes, all right, coach. And he kind of calms down. They score a couple plays later. I was like, all right, great. PAT goes through the guy's hands. We block it. So now we have to go to overtime. But I remember Ryan coming off the field after we just got our butts kicked. We should have lost the game. And he's like, Coach, you were right. And I was just like, buddy, I didn't say it to him, but I'm just thinking, oh God, Tex, you have no idea.
No idea.
Yeah, it was funny. But
No
then
idea.
and then in overtime, we cause a fumble and the ball rolls around for 9 days and we finally recover it and we win. What I liked most about Ryan my biggest memories of him in 2013 against Valencia when we lost in the playoffs to them. We were on the field as a defense. They took a knee because they had just gotten the ball back. And then against Paso in that game in 14, our defense was on the field again. They took knees. Ryan brought everybody together and talked to them, and then they break. And
wow, that's powerful.
Yeah.
That's so powerful because that was Ryan's character, and that was that was really good. I did have to bring up because that's a different one. That's a different game than when they lost to Paso, right?
That was 14 when they lost to
When they
Paso.
lost to Paso.
That's when they took the knee.
Bailey Gaither.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was a hard one because I did bring that up when we talked to Goosen and I said, I wish that I knew what Ryan said that day.
There's a lot of things that when Ryan had that team meeting in Colorado with his boys, he asked his coaches to leave and he asked all of us to leave. And to this day, we don't know what he said, but I know that it was a brotherhood that was cemented for life.
Yeah.
Right.
And none of those boys will talk about it to this day.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I know it's a special moment and it was between each one of them.
Yeah.
And that's where it needs to stay. It's not something that we need to know about.
right.
Yeah.
You know, it was a Texican moment.
Yeah, which is so cool. Such a cool, because there was a lot of kids that were older than him at that time,
Right.
in 14, because he was he a junior?
In 13, he was a junior. I remember
Right,
that one
13.
against Valencia because we had those guys. We played our out of
Butts
our,
off.
That was an
on
intense
defense.
game.
That was a very,
The 3 cast team. We had
Yeah.
3 casts on the field.
Yeah,
Yep.
guys were intercepting balls with Castle.
Thomas Fuentes
Yep.
had a cast.
Yes.
Tex had a cast.
Tex, yes.
Was it Del
Emo?
Rosa?
No, or was it Emil?
Emil Bragg.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
right.
had a
That's what
cast.
it was.
We had 3 casts on
3
the field.
casts,
Yeah.
and yeah, poor Matt had to tape them all because
Yep.
Yeah.
you know I wanted to tape too, and you know
Good thing it
me, I
wasn't
was
pink.
trying to. Yeah, they're like
Pink tape.
don't let her do it. She's got history back in freshman year.
He
Yeah.
learned by that
Yeah.
point. He
Yeah.
was laid back. He was
Yeah.
laid
Yeah,
back.
that's the truth. That's the truth.
I don't know if he was
Okay.
laid back.
I don't think he was laid back
just-
a minute. Yeah.
Maybe he matured a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Because the freshman year is when it all came out how Conan met him or
Yeah.
knew him because
Yeah,
of all
yeah,
the tardies. We had no idea.
Right.
I'm like, what do you mean he had tardies? He had Saturday school? I didn't know that. How did I get it? How do I not know that?
Yeah.
Like, he had to get there somehow. He's like,
Mhm.
yeah, he went to football practice and then did. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, I had no idea that this was happening. No idea. So I think he kept me in the dark when he needed to keep me in the dark.
Yeah.
And then exactly. Okay. So, do you have any favorite stories other than
Well, I just think like there was a few, Trevor and I were up in the box. And Hartman and I were up in the box. So 2 years we were in the box.
Mhm.
2 years it was Hartman and I, and we're always on communication on our headsets. We're always talking as a coaching staff. There is not one time that we have ever practiced for Tex to put his hand in the dirt.
Oh,
hand in the dirt?
no,
Did you
he's-
say?
Yeah, he's a linebacker.
He's a linebacker. All of a sudden we're up in the box. And Trevor, like, I think were you on the field or were you at that point? And you go, what is
He's down-
Tex
down in the
Probably
doing?
Right.
13. It was like against a Tascadero.
He's lined up like a DN with his
Yeah.
hand in the dirt. And then he backs out. And then he goes back down. And you could see the other team kind of like, what in the hell is this dude doing? Like, are they blitzing? Like, what are they doing? And we didn't even know. It was one of those things where we had those conversations constantly, like, what is he doing? I'm like, I have no idea. I don't know. I'm just going to close my eyes and hope this works out.
Let
Like,
it ride.
we
Let it
can't
ride.
do anything about it.
Yeah.
And
As long as you didn't cross the line, you were
You
good.
were good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're good.
yeah,
And-
exactly.
And knowing him, you knew it was going to be 100% effort. It wasn't something where it was some kid just not being in the game and
Right.
being an individual. It was a kid that was just, we call it Texican. We named it in practice because it was a combination of, Tex and the coach from the water boy, and so
That's a great analogy.
That is a perfect analogy.
you couldn't understand a word he would say. And there was this weird, like when he got really fired up, he had this like weird head bob and it was separate
awesome.
from the way his body moved. And that's how you knew like where his energy was. And then you'd say, hey, settle down, come here. And then you'd get the, and you're like,
Garth
oh
was
my
our
gosh.
translator.
Yeah.
So we dealt with him all the time like that, but everything was 100% effort. There is no 50% with him.
No.
It was
There wasn't.
just,
There wasn't.
so, even, and like Trevor said, you make a mistake, but somehow he made it
work.
turn into something better than it should have been, where we would have been on the sideline like, why'd you do that? But instead we're like, all right, we got the ball back. Let's rock and roll.
Isn't that crazy? So when we were talking to Goosen, the head coach, he said that he kind of earned that right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So through the time, you're like, what is he doing? What is he doing? What is he doing? And you're yelling through the headsets and you're going, well, let's just see how this works out towards the end of the season. You're like, because normally he would get to the right spot. Or, usually we had no idea. Okay. So from Steve and I's perspective, we're like thinking you guys told him to do some crazy
We
stuff.
had no idea
Like,
from the stands.
Do you just like
It's like, what
juke
are they
each other?
called?
You raised him. You
I was
didn't
like-
know he was crazy?
I had no idea it was this
But we're
crazy.
we're baseball parents. We're not
That's true.
football
Like,
parents,
yeah, we're-
I don't know these plays.
We don't
Yeah.
know the plays, but we just, and then he'd come home and he's like their names, like Bob and Mike.
Bob,
and I'm like,
yeah.
what? And he's, so we didn't know anything. We were clueless. My family, I was raised in a football family. So my mom's brother, so my uncle, he was a offensive coordinator for years, and so I was more familiar with some things, and he did Division I, and all that stuff. Didn't make it to the NFL.
Right.
But anyway, he never was a head coach. So anyway, that was kind of in my background. So I kind of knew a little bit of football more than, but I just thought you guys were the ones that were coaching him to do some crazy stuff. People would ask us all the time, like, what is he doing? I don't know. That's just what they tell him to do. So
You should have looked up in the box and looked at us going down to the sideline. Like, we have no
And I think
idea
it was
either.
even worse his senior year because he was playing Grant's spot at that point.
Right.
And he was
would
never
bounce,
I mean, he was just
bounce
always
the
like,
whole
let's
time.
go. Where are we going?
I
So
know.
to piggyback Coach Goosen's, thoughts,
Earning it.
Right when I saw Ryan, when he came up as a freshman, and him and Jordan were they were bangers. They would get in there and they would mix it up. You learn a few things like, I'm going to trust this guy 3 years later because I know he's going to go for it. He's not soft. Ryan's a great human. So I know he has the right, he's trying to do the right thing. He's not out there just hey, I'm going to get a sack on this play and not do my responsibility. He understands the context of the defense. So if we call, we blitz somebody else, he's not going to go. He'll line up and put his hand down, but then he'll drop and good disguise, bro. But so
It's made life a lot harder.
so
on
you
yourself.
we would let it ride because we knew Ryan knew what to do. We knew how. He didn't know how to do it necessarily the way we wanted him to, but we knew, hey, he's a good kid and he's going
Right.
100%.
Yeah.
He's going to do it. He's going to do it his way.
Yeah.
And that was Ryan to a T. I mean, he did things his way.
Yes, but I thought that it was remarkable that it comes out now and that he had the freedom to do that.
He earned it.
Because and that's what, I don't know, it blesses my heart so much because here Steve and I just thought you guys told him to do that because I already
How would
drew
you
the
coach
line
that?
I don't, that's exactly what actually Hartman said that or
Everyone.
Field
And they've all
that.
said it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they really have.
I think we need a disclaimer here that this is not how you teach your
No,
kids
you
to
do
play
not. You
football.
do
Please
not.
listen
Yeah.
to your coach.
Right,
Listen.
right.
You know,
Honestly, it
100%.
is. So I learned most of the football I learned as a coach was from Coach Goosen and Coach Mack and everybody that came ahead of me at AG. And it was you let kids get comfortable and
Yep.
you let them find a way to get whatever you need them to get done. They do it their own way.
Yeah.
And
That's
the big thing
awesome.
is this was one thing that with Ryan did not become true. Coach Goosen always used to say you could slow kids down. So if you have a kid with a motor, you could always give them little mechanisms to kind of slow them down a little bit. Whether they have to read a tackle or a guard or do something. With Ryan, that necessarily wasn't always the case,
Wow.
which is a good thing. That's a good problem to have. You can't take a kid who's just a slug and make them into a great football player because they just don't have that motor.
Right.
Ryan had a motor.
Yeah, he had.
Yes, he did.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. That was awesome. And I do remember somebody saying that he would actually like come back and have a full on explanation on why he did what he did. You know, like the guy's eyes turned that way, and then the coach told him this, and then he's like, and you're like, what? Who? You can't really coach that, because when you're out there right before a play, you really don't know what's going to happen.
As a
But
coach-
Ryan was looking at everything.
As a coach, you can't even listen to that. Like we got to. We're on time. We're on schedule here, guy.
Yes,
Like the next snap's
exactly.
about to happen. He's trying to yell that at me. It's just like just play.
Just shut up.
I don't care. Like, and I had to tell him that a lot because he was such a good person that he would, if he messed up, it killed him.
Oh,
But he was
Oh.
also confident enough to kind of overcome it. But he would always try to justify it.
Always justify.
Ryan, just shut up. Just go
Yeah.
play. I trust you.
Yep.
You're the man. Just
He
keep
was
doing
always justifying things to me. Always.
it. He was a perfectionist.
Yes,
You know?
and he was hard on himself, which was awesome. But one thing I do want to say, just because this is like our third football coaching staff that we've done a podcast on, and Ryan, obviously football was not his first,
What?
and it's hard to believe that
Right.
the stories that have been coming out but I know why he wanted to play football, because the people and the coaching staff that he was around, that is why. I know for sure. And I want to encourage you that it wasn't necessarily the game. It was you guys that
Right.
wanted him and to be a better person, a better player, a better everything.
It was the family.
It was the family. And even though he loved baseball and but he loved being around you guys. So I thought that was really special. And he respected you. He wanted to do well for you, which I think there's something to be said about that.
Well, and all of them have come back and say he's a great kid. He's a great kid. He's a great kid. But it really was, that's who he was. And it wasn't a great kid. He was just a great human.
Yeah.
And I think that, in football, there's that constant, you're beat up. By the end of the season,
Yes.
you're beat up. And especially us for, those 5-6 years, we were playing until Thanksgiving,
Oh, yes.
sometimes into
Yes.
December. And so, even us as a staff at that point, we've been there since
You're tired.
May,
Yeah. getting
getting ready for the season. And now it's Thanksgiving and we're practicing on Thanksgiving Day instead of being with our family, and the
Yeah.
kids are there. And, there's something about that that's different than any other
Yeah,
sport.
I
It's
agree.
it's combat.
Mhm.
Everybody's beat up. Like I said, 3 broken hands on one
Yep.
field. It's like, man, we are all in this together. Okay, you got
Yeah.
it wrapped. You got it wrapped. You got it. All right,
Yep.
let's play. Let's do
it.
this. And
Let's do it.
yeah,
But they respected you enough, because I remember I think it was Ryan's senior year, is that I'm like, gosh, they're not the athletes that they were previous years, but they respected their coaches and they wanted to do well for you guys. So I think that makes
That club, I mean, you guys went 1-9 as
Yeah.
freshmen. And
1-9
you
as
came back.
freshmen.
I mean, we're one hurdle away from being in the CIF title game, which we would
Exactly.
have won against my alma mater.
Yeah.
It's,
Oh, yeah. That's
Newbury
good to
Park.
know. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Mhm.
good to know. Okay, so let's get into the deep stuff. I think. How did you find out that Ryan was diagnosed? Because I do not know the answer to this.
So at the time, I was those little dudes that I was talking about earlier were like, they were in bellies and getting
Mhm.
here. So I was kind of overwhelmed in my own kind of place at that point. Coach Goosen brought us into the football office and he said what was going on. It was tough.
Mhm.
So he told you all as a group.
I don't think so, because it was if I remember right, it was after football season. I want to say maybe even during football season, Ryan had like a groin issue.
Right.
It like out at practice, I remember he was like stretching it out and everything. And like you said, at the end of the season, you're banged up. So, you had a groin thing. Hey, just stretch it, go see Coach Q, listen to him,
Yeah.
and then before baseball season is when, you guys kind of realize, hey, it's not a pulled groin. There's something different going on. So I think it was during the off season for us.
Mhm.
And so not everyone's there, a
Okay,
couple of us
gotcha.
are on campus.
Yeah, because it was April 19th he got diagnosed.
right.
And so we knew something was going on late January. We had to pull him out of Don Lugo to get a biopsy. So there's, so we knew that there was something going on,
Right.
like I said, January. And this is, what year is this? 15, right?
Mhm.
15. Yeah. So you found out what Goosen told you.
Tommy and I would, I mean, he was my mentor. And so we would meet a lot. So the guys that were on campus, I'm assuming, so it would be Coach Hartman. I don't know if Shep was there or not. It was anyone that was still on staff on campus. So Coach Field, anyone that was teaching,
Gotcha.
he brought us in and kind of told us, and, we could basically, what can we do?
Yeah, that was, yeah. What about you, Garth?
I got brought in after school. I think because it was April.
We might have been getting ready for like spring ball.
Yeah,
or
we were
like
starting spring ball. So I was getting there at like 2:00 in the afternoon or something. And I just remember walking into a somber office. Now I had known he had been hampered. I think originally it was like, a groin, and then it was a hamstring.
We all thought it was a hamstring.
Yeah. And I remember him going to Q, and, I would always check, hey, what's going on with Texas hamstring? Because at that point, once football season was over, I just needed a break. So I would disappear for a while and just wait for spring ball, and then I'd come back. But I was always checking because I'd see him at campus if I had to show up every once in a while. I would go in and teach an econ class for Hartman when it came to stocks and bonds. And
Nice.
I'd go in, and so I'd see him and say, hey, what's going on? What have they figured out?
Right.
What does Q think? What does Dr. Laird say? What are, what's happening? What's going on? Oh, we don't know. It just it's hampering. It's, this and that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in baseball season. And I remember him saying like, man, it's hurting to run. And my buddy just maybe need to just take a break. You can't make something like that worse. You don't want to tear it, because again, we all thought it was a hamstring or something.
Right.
And it wasn't until, I don't remember when we knew that there was a problem. So January, because that's early baseball season, really.
Right.
February. And I think he was worried because it was a large lump on the inside of his right leg, up by his groin.
Right.
And so I remember the day that Steve looked at it, because his eyes just got super big, like there's a problem.
Yeah.
His whole reaction, and I'm thinking, not obviously, I was thinking, it's just a pulled hamstring. There's nothing, it can't be that bad. We're icing it. Like, we're doing what we need to do. And so he's like, oh no, this is not good. This isn't good. So it doesn't, because it was large. And
Wasn't it the size of a football?
It was.
When we got, like 10 pounds.
10 pounds, like 9.
And it was shaped just like a football,
Yeah,
like a
shaped
Nerf
just
football.
like it.
In perfect tech fashion. I remember when the following year you brought him to football practice, and he decided we all needed to see the photos of it. He pulls it out on his phone, and we're in the middle of practice. He goes, look at this. My man, put that away. Nobody wants to see you with your shorts up.
I know. What are you doing? Yeah, that's insane. Nobody wants to see those pictures. But
No.
I think he wanted to show you it looked like a football. Like
It
he
did.
was proud of that scar. He was like, look what I did. I just, delivered a 10-pounder out of this thing, But anyway, so you guys found out about it, and thoughts, emotions, concerns. Did you talk to him? When did you see him after you knew? Because Ryan wanted to tell everybody. We found out on a Sunday. He wanted to tell everybody on Monday. And Steve and I weren't, well, I don't know. I'm not speaking for you, but I wasn't ready. So, but it wasn't about us. It wasn't about because we were thinking we were going right into treatment. We weren't even sure we were going to go to treatment or to go to surgery first. They were still like trying to figure it out, how and what exactly it was, or how they were going to treat it, not what it was. But, and so when he wanted to tell everybody on Monday, then it got to be a little like, are you sure? Because, good news travels like wildfire. Bad news certainly travels even quicker. And so, were we prepared for that? Not at all. Not at all were we prepared. But in Ryan fashion, he did an amazing job at handling everybody. And, it was a lot. Phone calls, emails, text messages, a lot of stuff. People come out of the woodwork because, it is an unbelievable news that you're not expecting. But how did that first reaction after you saw Ryan go, when you found out? After you found out when you saw him next?
I would see him on campus. Normally, I would just check in with them every once in a while. It was a different check-in this time. I don't know that I actually sought him out on campus. I would text him and just say, hey, what can I do?
Yeah.
I still text.
Oh gosh.
I do too. I will never get rid of that phone number. So
No, me neither.
yep. So
I look at it once a month. My last text message to him.
yep. He's still on speed dial.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Sorry.
No, it's understandable. It's been 5 years, but it seems like yesterday.
It does not seem like 5 years.
So how about you, Garth? Was there anything did you see him afterwards, or
Mine was a little different. He and I talked on the phone a lot because I'd just keep contact with him, and then it was kind of back and forth that way. And then every once in a while I'd see him on campus. I made sure I was there for signing day. It was just he and I, because I wasn't on campus. It was more of like, hey, just what's happening, keep me posted, what's going on.
Right.
We'd talk for a little bit on the phone. Jordan would keep me kind of posted on stuff. That bond we had built with that group of kids.
right?
Tyler Arbach, Grant,
All my Fort boys.
all of
Yeah.
those guys, it was Sawyer, everybody. It was just kind of, hey, keep me in the loop, what's happening. And so I think that was it. And it was more just communication between him and I. And, even after the fact, when he went away to school and then when he was in the hospital again, he'd call me and I'd call him and, just check on him. And like I said, the last text message I have on my phone, I don't know why, but I'm trying to figure out what I had done with it. And I look at it all the time. It's the last text message in my group, and it was on March 3rd, 2017 at 8:12 p.m. And I just happened to come across something and I was like, hey buddy, like just checking on you. Came across one of your notes today. Just want to let you know that I love you. And I sent that text message, and that was
We have not charged his phone.
Never even turned it on.
We haven't turned
Have
it
you
on.
thought about doing it?
I don't know that I have
know.
the heart to do it.
yeah.
I don't know that I have the heart to do
I
it.
know. We have the charger. We have everything. And we had, like, at the service, we had this fishbowl of, I think I said this in the Brad Latchman, and it was just a memory, like a note. If you could just give us a memory note and put it in there, because we knew that they were different than what we had. And we just wanted to keep them. Well, we pulled one out and it was Brad Latchman. We put that back and we haven't looked at any since,
Right.
because it's just so hard. I mean, these are fun because I get to hear stories, and they're the Texisms that we didn't even know, which
Right.
I thought you guys were coaching them to be ridiculous out there and knowing that you didn't. And it was just funny to me to think like how, I don't know. It's just, it's so things that have been really hard, like that charging his phone I would need like,
He has voicemails on there that I would love to listen to, but in the same token, it's Ryan's.
Yeah.
That's his.
Yeah.
his privacy, it's his thing.
And I don't want to.
I would love to get Mike Trout's phone number off of it one day, but because Mike Trout,
he had Mike
texted
Trout.
him
He had
and-
Tommy Lasorda.
yeah,
He
and
had him and Tommy are probably together. Tommy's probably coaching. I didn't even tell you this. I was going through the little thumb drives,
Right.
looking for a software program that I downloaded, and I would put it on a thumb drive, and I came across a computer backup and full of all the pictures, and I just started and I thought I had lost those pictures.
yeah.
And there's Ryan being coached by Tommy Lasorda, and I lost it. Because Ryan's up at batting practice, and and there's Tommy, attaboy, do this, attaboy, great hit. Yeah. Let me see that again. And, Tommy just going, and now I just kind of think about Tommy's up there doing the same thing, doing.
But can I
his
say something
drills.
about that? Because that was super interesting, because I was there that day, and I could always guarantee if Ryan had somebody that could, like Tommy Lasorda, or any situation that arose. It didn't matter if it was a celebrity, just a normal everyday person.
Yeah.
if Ryan was in a position like he was batting or he was, in a position, an opportunity for them to chat with them, they would take it.
Yeah.
And those are the things that make me think, did they know that was going to happen? Did they know that his life was going to be short? Because, why there was 10 people that did it, but they chose Ryan to have a conversation with, or to, hey, I'm going to encourage you a little bit, or I'm going to do this. But, whatever the situation was, I would always sit back and look and go, Ryan's going to, Chris Young, when we had a Chris Young concert. Do you think Chris Young? Of course, Chris Young had a full-on conversation with Ryan. Did he have one with anybody else? Nope. It was just because there was something about Ryan.
I think it was his personality. I mean, he was probably the catalyst for, all those conversations.
Oh yeah, he knew what to say at the right time.
Well, and with everyone, like you said, I mean, it was the nerdy kid in algebra class. He would be buddies with him.
He would.
It was
He
cool.
did. I mean,
he knew the right kids to be friends
No,
with.
he
could
is
help
not
them get through
stupid.
that
No,
class.
baloney. He worked his tail off.
Yeah.
He wasn't the
Yeah.
go easy route, short step it, cheat off
For
of
sure.
somebody. He worked his butt off.
Yeah. Well, it helped the fact that we had quite a few math tutors here at the house.
and I told him
getting him through.
I would hire you a really cute tutor. So what are we going to do? Like, you want the cute
That's a way
tutor?
to
You want
get
the
in there
ugly
right
cute
there.
tutor?
Yeah.
Like, come on. Yeah. So anyway, he's like, I'll take the cute tutor. Yeah, absolutely. So we hired Landon Saputo. We hired and they would come in and help him with his, just a different direction, different, instructions. I still don't think he was ever great at math, but, it was one of those things you just had to get through it.
No.
You just had to get through it. You weren't
All
going to do anything with
needed is
math.
a C.
Yeah,
That's it.
That's
You
it.
just
That's
needed
all we
a
needed.
C.
Yeah,
Well,
that's all we needed.
I keep looking at that picture
Yep.
of him over there on the mantle, and that was him. There was a light in his eye,
Yeah.
and there was a smile. So right off the bat, it didn't matter who was in the room.
Right.
All of a sudden, your guard's down.
Mm.
Now, in the
True.
same token, you got one of the most rugged kids that I've ever met.
Mhm.
The jokes and the stories, but you asked football stories. The Atascadero game that got canceled because of the rain, and then Halloween, and so then we had to play the next day.
I remember that.
And he shows up to the defensive meeting in full camo.
That's right.
Was he hunting?
He went turkey hunting that morning, and we had a 1:00 game. It was those things like, hey man, we don't ever play on Saturdays. All of us as coaches are like, oh my God, one more night we have to think about this. Like we just wanted to play.
Sure.
But power went out in AG.
Yep, I remember
there was
that.
lightning.
Yeah.
The kids, like, they'd never seen rain before. We know
Right.
it's California. It
Yeah.
doesn't rain much. But
Right.
I mean, it was all those things. And so then we're like, all right, let's go have a meeting. It was always in Mac's room.
Yep.
And we go over there, and then it came down the hall, and he's in full camo.
Camo.
He's in,
Yeah. Full
Where,
ca-
where
what
in
do
the hell have you been? Coach, turkeys are all over. We went turkey hunting. You guys got to come out. And I'm like, I live down the street. Just tell me
Just tell
anytime,
me.
I'll
Yeah,
go.
yeah. You know the
and-
story about his he has the duck calls on this lanyard, and he
Yeah.
did that to the nurses. He's like, listen, this is your duck call. When I duck call this, you need to come in. Who does that? Who says that? Like, that's just wrong in every level. But anyway, one other thing, I thought there was one I wanted to ask about. So we know about Ryan's diagnosis. We know about his second diagnosis,
Mhm.
basically, because so 17 Strong is his. It's his, yeah. So what are your? I guess it's kind of a two-part. Like, did you have anybody that you this far in your career, your teaching and football career, that's anywhere like Ryan or that you can compare him to? And the second part is, what are your thoughts about Ryan creating 17 Strong?
The first part, no, there's nobody like that, but there's a lot of people that are aspiring to be like that. So for football, we nominated a few kids. I think Coach Hartman already explained how it
Right.
worked, but we nominated a few kids that are, kind of in the mold of Ryan.
Sure.
And then we have the other players vote on it. And then that player wears 17 for the season. And, it's been weird. Initially, because Ryan was a good football player too. It wasn't
good.
just, that, he was a good baseball player. I mean, he also played well on the football field. He was good. And we kind of thought like maybe it would morph into like the best player would be that guy, but it didn't. It wasn't that way. It was kind of like your unsung heroes. It was your guys that, put the team first and other people first. And it's been cool to see it kind of the dynamics of it kind of evolve. The kids want to be that, right? I mean, we have kids listening to the podcast now because they want to know the backstory. And we can talk about Ryan as coaches, but players, they're going to tune you out at some point. Hearing from other sources and hearing some of these things about him. Nobody's text, but there's a lot of people that are trying to emulate what he was about, especially as they hear more stories about him, for sure. Him starting on his own, it's right in line with who he was. I mean,
This is a hard podcast.
Yeah.
I did not think it was going to be this hard.
Hold on. He thought about others when he was down there at UCLA. That's who he thought about. Didn't feel sorry for himself.
Never.
Others.
Never. He wanted to be so normal. He kept that's why he'd call you guys just to talk about some football so that he didn't have to be associated with cancer. Because that was, doctors would come in and say, how you doing? I'm living the dream. And I'm thinking back, I'm not living a dream. I'm not living this dream. This is horrible. This is horrific. But he was determined. So you're right. He did. He thought about others.
Holly, can I finish that?
Yep.
But it has not stopped.
No, it continues.
Because you two. You picked it up, and I can't imagine.
I think it's so important that, and I've used this analogy with men's groups and Bible studies and everything, but I challenge people, write your own obituary. If you were to die today or tomorrow, what are people going to say about you?
Mm-hmm.
How many people are going to show up to your funeral?
Yep.
What are they going to say? And I think that gives you a really personal look at your own life. What are people going to say? What did I do? And we've said it time and time again that he touched more people in 20 years than I'll probably ever touch in 80.
Yeah.
Right.
I know. Just so powerful.
It's
that
very powerful.
An 18-year-old could think of something
bigger than
such
himself.
Such a need, because Steve and I didn't know until we jumped in with both feet, and just knowing that, okay, it is a vacation at the end of the day, but it's changing their lives because they get to hope and they get to dream about their life again, which they didn't know what tomorrow held, but they get to dream about that. And Ryan didn't even get to go on one. He didn't even get to go on a trip. So,
well, and I think that says it. I mean, I think that's it. It's, to have something like that pulled from you. Yeah. And then,
Ryan, he was going to
come in and say, well, wait a second. I don't want this. Like, who does that? I don't want this to happen to anybody else. Hey, let's do this. Yes. And then I think, you talk about the obituary, it's legacy. What is your legacy? Yes. And I think the thing that, if people that don't know Ryan, that never met Ryan, that hadn't had, the intimate relationships that we had as coaches, I just look at that and go, here's a kid that impacted other kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And these kids thought of him so much and loved him so much that they carry on his legacy.
Yeah.
And that will last forever, because we can talk about it and all this stuff, but it's living through him and through them. And I think that says more than anything, because when you look at the Sawyers, the Tylers, the Grants, the Caseys, all of these guys, yes, we coached them all. We have stories of, all of them, but man, the fact that they picked up that torch with you guys
100%
and carried it, that's what Ryan is. That's who Ryan is look at the people that are carrying on his vision And then you go, wow, how's an 18-year-old kid have that big of an impact? And it is, it's the legacy.
It is.
But it's that shine in his eyes, the smile that he had that was disarming, honest, and true. And that was Ryan.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's so good. So good.
Wow, this turned into an emotional.
Sorry, that was me.
No,
I knew it was
no.
going to happen too,
No.
Steve. That's my fault.
It's
You
all
could have
good.
warned me.
I
at least.
should have told you I was a
Like,
crier.
Yeah.
I did
No,
not.
I like criers because
I just am so.
I wear my heart out there too, so that's
yeah,
good.
it's so.
I'm
it's
just mean
good.
Coach Porterfield,
Way-
so I never cry.
Candy striper.
Candy
so
striper.
hard for me to.
But I
think.
know that this is a Saturday podcast, and
It is a
we have
Saturday.
baseball that
Baseball.
you're waiting to go coach with your son.
Oh yeah, number
Yes.
17.
Number
Number
17.
17.
There you go.
Yeah.
Hey,
Love it.
There
and
you
can
go.
I be a
Yes.
proud dad real quick?
Yes.
Absolutely.
My kid he's so aloof to things. He when he plays baseball, he's into it, but I don't even know if he knows all the rules and everything. He's just kind of out there, but he knew he wanted to be 17. And he's playing out of his mind right now. Like he's good,
So good.
but it's funny that right when the game's over, he's on to something else. You know, it's not fully engulfing. And I think Ryan was similar. Like,
Oh,
Yeah.
he was
yeah.
definitely a ball player. He was a baseball guy, but no, he's going to go turkey hunting when, before a game. He also played football. He was so in the moment. And I think
Yep.
it's important for all of us to be that way.
Yeah.
So
Did
it
is this Trey?
yeah. Trey.
Okay. Did he ever tell you about what he wanted to name his first kid?
Who, Trey? Or
No,
Ryan?
my son, Ryan.
No.
Okay. He wanted to name him Trev.
What?
Trev. Yeah. And so, and I'm like, that's weird. Like
That
that's
is a weird name.
Like why? But Trey kind of reminds
like
me
Jeff.
of
Yeah.
it because it's different, but it's cool. But then it's not Trevor, but it's Trev.
Correct.
And yeah, so it was already set in those wedding vows of Nicole and Ryan, but obviously God had a different plan. But yeah, anyway, so that was, I thought maybe he would talk to you about it, but he was pretty private on his own regards, I mean, there were some things that he
was a pretty open book.
was, well, I'm a pretty open book too, but there were some things.
With teenagers, I don't really delve
Yeah,
into
for sure.
Yeah, your own
And-
kids and things like that.
And also too, because we didn't think that we thought, oh gosh, that's just a high school thing, But when you go through a cancer and then you go through a second cancer, like Steve and I know without a shadow of doubt that was going to be his wife. No doubt. There's no doubt that we just knew that we knew. I mean, nobody signs up for that. I mean, nobody signs up for that and sticks with somebody. And like I always say, like they never broke up. They never broke up. That wasn't. So anyway, all that to.
Let's go play some baseball.
Play ball.
We love you, Ryan.
I
love you, Ryan.
Miss you,
Yeah,
buddy.
miss him terribly. So thank you both
so
for being
much.
here and spending your Saturday with us.
Absolutely.
It was amazing and
Coming
coming all the way
home.
from Mexico.
Mexico
and-
Hey, I'm glad we could be here.
I'm
Yeah.
so glad
Glad
it worked out. I'm
so-
so glad. And are we, do you want to say anything else? Is there anything else? I mean, we could always have a second part.
There's tons of stories.
I know,
There's
I know.
so many. I would really like to get on, would be good to get on, would be Jordan at some point.
Jordan Harrigan.
Absolutely. Because it was Tweedledee and Tweedledum.
Yeah.
And just, some of the stuff, like I'll end with this story.
Okay.
Jordan comes to practice his freshman year and he's holding his hands weird. I'm like, what's wrong with you? Tex, come here. I knew exactly that something had happened between the two of them. What is going on? Jordan's our running back. He can't hold a football. What happened? And Ryan just melted down and unloaded. He's like, I didn't mean to do it. And what are you talking about? He's like, we were on the ranch and we got this great idea and we threw a ski rope over this oak tree. And then we tied it to the quad and I told Jordan to hold on. And he's like, I was only going to gas it a little bit. And then it just took off and he shot all the way up and his hand cracked the top of the thing. And then he fell like 12 feet to the ground. And I'm just like, okay, I'm going to walk away. I'm going to pretend I didn't hear any of this. I'm just going to please make better decisions, boys. Make better decisions.
Oh yeah, you know what the better decision was?
I'm
then
sure.
instead
Gloves.
of throwing the rope over the tree, they just put it on they took the wheels off a skateboard
A
Perfect.
skim board.
and they used it as a skim board and they'd pull each other around the grass.
And they call
Perfect.
it grass boarding.
Grass
yeah.
boarding,
No, but
yeah.
that was
No broken
grass boarding
hands,
was
just
first,
broken
and
legs.
this is second,
Oh, yeah.
and then he'd let somebody else somebody else drive the Gator, because Ryan knew how to drive the Gator. He's
Right.
driven since he's been 6 years old, but somebody else drives the Gator, and then Ryan goes, launches off, and he's in treatment at the time, launches off, and he has like a big, huge gash in between his eyes. And I said, what happened to you? He goes, oh, my gun kicked back at me. I totally believed it. I believed it. And of course, that story came out in a podcast. And I'm like, he goes, you know that story where he told you to kick back? No, I actually was driving the Gator and I drove it and Ryan flew off the Gator. Like, oh my
He
God.
got in trouble by the doctors for that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah.
Yeah, I think Jordan would have some good stories.
Yeah, he
and I
does
think
have
it'd
good
open 'em up.
stories. That's
Yeah.
true. That's
We'll
true.
have to get him before he heads overseas.
yeah,
'cause
he's-
he's deploying again overseas.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, for
And
sure.
he's in Arizona right now.
Yes,
Yeah?
he is.
Yes, yes.
He's in
Okay.
Arizona, but I think he has until November, or I don't remember.
Yeah.
It's soon. He's gonna leave for a couple of years, but I can't thank you guys enough. I really can't. These were great stories, way better than I anticipated. And
What does that mean?
I mean, just because I just
We're
don't.
boring.
I
Yeah.
think that I know the stories. I think I know all of them. Do you know what I mean? And then when they come out, they're just so much better than I ever anticipated. So I just can't thank you guys
Well, we
enough.
thank you guys
for-
because
Well,
Yeah.
he impacted us, and it's the fact that we have these stories and,
Yeah.
and how much we love him and how many smiles. Like
Yeah.
we didn't even, I think, break the seal on the stories that we have.
Totally.
We could sit
No,
for
I agree.
hours and hours and hours of just all the things that we had seen with him. So
Had
we love
he
you
ever
guys.
talked to you about 17 Strong? Either of you?
No,
I don't know. I checked my text. I don't remember.
No,
Yeah.
I don't think
And
so.
he didn't talk about. I begged him to talk about it a couple of times, and he's like, "I don't want to talk about myself." I'm like,
I
"You're
think
not."
you had talked to me about it. And
I think I did
you and
at
I had
that-
kind of kept in communication at that point when towards the end of, hey, this
Yes.
is where we're going, what we're thinking about doing. This is Ryan's wishes. And I
And
was like,
that
okay.
was the thing, is that it wasn't Steve and I that did it in honor of. And I always have to correct people. I'm like, absolutely not. This is not what I would want to be doing.
No.
But I'm doing it because of his legacy.
Yeah.
I'm doing it to change people's lives.
Right.
So, and I know that Steve and I are meant to do it, and this is our purpose. And so for us to have people like you guys to spread the word means more to us than we can ever imagine and express.
The three boys want to know when we're doing the dunk tank again.
Oh my gosh, I
yeah,
love
that's
them.
not happening.
That
But
is
anyways,
Did you get in there?
He
no,
loved it.
but if we want to talk about stories, my wife thought it would be a cute selfie, and I did dunk
Uh-oh.
tanks in high school.
Okay.
I think he already knows this story.
So
let's just hang out.
she
Holly,
doesn't
dirty
listen
laundry.
to her husband, and I told her, I said, "Don't get up there. Those platforms do not hold."
No,
it."
it was tricky. It was duct taped,
It
and you had to
was.
hold it.
You're
and,
right. You're
it's
and
totally
she's
right.
fully clothed. And she gets up and she goes, "No, it's going to be really quick. I'm just going to
took a
take a
picture.
selfie." So she gets her camera. She's sitting
And
on
I
it,
have jeans on.
Yeah, she gets the camera, and as soon as she stretches her arm out, the platform falls,
And I
she's
fell
so-
in fully clothed. And do you think
And
he took me home
action
to
shot?
change?
No.
He did not
You'll
take me
dry
home. You're
out.
going to dry just fine.
Exactly.
You're the
exactly.
one that wanted the stupid selfie, so
The
go ahead.
consequences, right?
Socks, shoes, everything. Just in wet jeans, there's nothing worse. Wet
Yeah.
jeans. But anyway,
It's like going
I
to
learned
Magic
my
Mountain when
lesson.
you're a kid,
Yes.
Yes.
In wet jeans.
Learn my
Yep.
lesson. I will
So-
not do
Splash
that.
Mountain is last on the
Yeah.
list because
Yep.
you're not recovered from
Yeah,
that.
That's right.
absolutely.
So, but again, thank you both.
Yep.
Thank you
And
guys.
thank
Thanks for having
you.
us.
It's our pleasure. Thank you to all of our listeners. And if you'd like to donate or more information, please visit 17strong.org. And thank you for listening. And remember, attitude is everything.
You've been listening to 17 Strong. Victories don't come by accident. To be part of the show, make a donation, or request more information, go to 17strong.org. That's SEVENTEEN strong.org.